welcome to the Coaches Show. We are here at Leander High School. We are sitting outside on the football field. A little bit different view tonight with the scoreboard in the background, but it's a big night here at Leander. Trunk or treat. Obviously, we couldn't get on that side of the stadium. It's completely packed. Kids running everywhere, candy going everywhere. Great evening tonight for the high school with all of the groups. And I'll have Coach Price go over that a little bit, kind of what they do and what it's for. But welcome tonight. Before we go any further, let me definitely thank our Football Booster Club sponsors, the Platinum sponsors, Thrive Realty, Modern Shade, PK Custom Pools, Quality Moving and Storage, LOA Construction, and Austin Roofing, and the gold sponsors, Funk.com. Chuck, welcome. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you. Coach Price, good to see you. How are you?
Good.
So, before we even get to football, let's talk about trunk or treat.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what's going on out here. We see people in costumes. We got a bunch of little kids walking around, a bunch of groups. Explain to those that aren't familiar with it.
Backed up all the way to Lakeline.
I can only imagine. This is a big thing for our community. We have kids of all ages out celebrating with some of our athletic and fine arts groups here. The cheerleaders have put together, in case you hear the screaming in the background, a haunted house underneath the visitor side of the stadium, which is really pretty cool. And so all of our groups and organizations set up, various vehicles and drop a lot of candy in the back of them, and the kids get to walk around and do a sort of pre-Halloween, pre-trick-or-treat, and get candy and talk to some of our high school athletes and participants in different organizations. So it's a cool deal.
Yeah, it's a great community event, and kids will walk around to the back of a pickup, and one will be volleyball or cheerleaders or football or baseball, whoever it may be, and they just load up on candy, and I'm sure the parents are thrilled with that sugar high that their kids are running around with. So, yeah, if I start hiding under the table, please pull me out. We got this thing over here, and that I like Halloween, but I get creeped out with those little kids singing. And we have one over here, all those movies with the little kids and the swings and everything. It kind of freaks me out. So we got that going on over here.
It's on a loop. So
I know, yeah.
You'll be dreaming about it.
I will be. So, no, just if you are listening now or you're on your way, come on out. It's a great evening, and we enjoy it. We weren't able to do it last year with COVID, and I know that they've had this before, everything going on, and it's great to see everyone back out here again.
Yeah, it's absolutely a lot of fun. I know the kids are having a blast, and want to thank all of the athletes at Leander High School, every kid that's out here making it a great night for some of the younger members of our community.
Yep. Yeah. So we got a game coming up on Friday. Had our last home game here at Bible Stadium. Now we're on the road for 2 straight weeks. Hendrickson. Let's talk about Hendrickson.
Sure.
Tell me about them. Let's talk about their offense first. What do you expect from them?
Offensively, they're going to be similar to some of the things that we've seen this year in terms of scheme. They're a 4-5 wide receiver type team. They run the ball pretty well, but they're going to operate most of their stuff with some down the field passing game and some quarterback runs. So offensively, they got some talented weapons. They've suffered through some injuries, I think, just like everybody in the district. But they have a couple of guys I'm sure will be back come Friday. But that's kind of where they are offensively.
Well, when you spread it out with like 4 or 5 receivers all the way from sideline to sideline, it makes it a little easier to run the football, doesn't it?
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people believe when you're not necessarily really good on the offensive line, you should, cram more bodies in there with tight ends and stuff, and that's not necessarily the case. It opens up some bigger running lanes when you spread people out and get receivers out on the edge. It forces defenses to remove some guys from the box, so it actually helps you, gives you fewer guys to block. So that's part of their scheme, is to try to spread you out so that they can run it a little bit as well.
What about their defense? What do they typically do on defense? What are their strengths?
Yeah, their strength is definitely their defensive line. They have a big-time OU recruit that plays defensive tackle. He's a pretty, he's a good-sized kid, and he's pretty athletic.
He's going to OU.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the wrong school, but he's going there.
In my opinion.
But he's pretty talented. They're a little young in the secondary, so definitely that's where you want to try to take advantage of them defensively. But but they're well coached and they play pretty hard.
Well, not to name anybody specifically, but are we getting near full strength offensively, especially?
Yeah, we're. This will be the first time in a couple of weeks that we'll have some pieces back, and they'll be in better shape than they have been the last couple of weeks. I know we got a couple of kids in our program that just don't want to hear no, and they tried a little bit last week, and you could just tell they're still struggling a little bit with injuries, but we're recovering now, and that's good for us.
Well, and you want to have guys on your team that want to be on the field. You don't want someone who has just a little bit of a nick or a bruise and decide they don't want to play that week.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that part of it, getting some guys back.
It's a little bit of a fine line you have to tread there because you're obviously trying to protect their safety as well.
Sure. Yeah, and you take their opinion into consideration as much as you can, but you tell pretty quick who's full strength and who's not, and you just make the best call for them long term. And
there are folks on your staff that have spent a lot of hours in school and in training that could probably make a better assessment than the random athlete could.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. We have had those kind of the injury bug this year. How do you work through that?
You've hoped the entire year, and I think the staff has done a pretty good job that you've repped everybody in the program enough that no matter what the situation is, somebody can step in. And I think that, this year we've had some guys who ultimately have limited playing experience. They haven't played football in a long time, but they've been prepared. They've been able to step in and execute the offense and execute the defense. It's just the pace of the game is a lot different when you've done it a whole lot in practice versus in a game situation. And so it's taken a handful of guys, a lot of reps to kind of get caught up to speed, but they're working hard and they really want to do it. So ultimately, you don't want to have injuries, but in the long term, you have more guys prepared to play as you deal with those.
Well, we've discussed that before. You can't really simulate game speed in practice as hard as you try. I mean, you can get close, but you can't get there.
Sure, and I think the physicality of it, actually engaging in the tackle is the one thing you really can't replicate. You don't want to full-scale tackle everybody in practice every day. That's another opportunity for bumps and bruises and injuries. And so it is a fine line of getting them the reps at game speed without going too far and getting some guys hurt.
Well, and in recent years, there's been a lot of focus on head injuries, protective rule changes to the game, as well as just extreme caution when you see that type of injury. And so, the last thing you want to do is full contact cross the bow Oklahoma drill.
Absolutely. Oklahoma drill is pretty much done these days. So.
Yeah, bull in the ring, and those are long gone.
Those are from our childhood.
Yes. But it's not only obviously the coaches know how to coach, but it's also the second, third, fourth string players. They have to pay attention in practice.
Absolutely.
They have to pay attention when you're going over it in the classroom, when you're talking about it before practice, where to be.
Sure.
They need to be ready to go.
Yeah, they have to be completely
because
engaged.
A lot of them may think, well, I'm third or fourth string, I may not ever get a chance, but they may get in there, and they need to be ready, right?
Yeah, we've rotated quite a few deep snappers in this year, and kudos to those guys because everyone that we've rotated through has done a really good job.
Yeah, that was a pretty good year at snapping the ball.
I think we had a couple early, but here it's been consistent, and reality is it oftentimes hasn't been the same guy every week. So they've done a good job, and those guys, that group in particular, has been really engaged and really worked hard to do some of the stuff in pre-practice and post-practice to make sure that they're ready to perform on Friday.
So let's talk about, we had middle school night the other night. How do you communicate with the middle schools that are feeding into here? Do you work with them? Do you try and have them learn the system? Do you go up and show up to practice? How do you work with those guys as they start to filter into Leander High School?
Yeah, we have two middle schools that feed into us, RBMS and LMS. RBMS is different than LMS. LMS it feeds into us, but also feeds into Glenn, and so the way we handle those two programs are a little bit different. We certainly get down and get with those athletes as often as we can. Just if nothing else, they get to see us, get to know us a little bit, and just have the excitement about coming up and being with us. during the season, we're at every middle school game. Luckily, LMS does play here in Bible, and so you have a coaching staff. Our coaching staff gets to come out and watch those guys. We have coaches that travel to RBMS and watch those games. RBMS is a little bit closer to our system and terminology because they are a true feeder to us. LMS, we give them a little bit more freedom because they're going to have kids that split. But essentially, the scheme is the same for both programs and both groups. And then as we go into the off season, we have a little bit more time to get down and work with those guys in the off season. We like to get down and watch their off season programs, what they're doing in the weight room. I've always been impressed with kind of the way both middle school groups run. The coaches do a good job of keeping them organized. A lot of times the middle schools kind of look like a million ants running around. And these guys keep them organized, and they ask them to work hard. And so our middle school programs are doing a good job, and we're excited about getting those 8th graders up here next year.
Well, that 8th grade team had were they undefeated?
Right? They were undefeated. They beat a pretty tough Henry team on Tuesday night, last night, and they're really talented and a great bunch of kids.
So yeah, that's exciting to have that group coming up.
Sure.
We've had a lot of success over the years in middle school, but you tend to, through attrition, lose some of those players. They either move off or they decide they want to participate in something other than football. And that's kind of been an issue for Leander over the last decade. So what are some of the things that you're working on to try to keep kids in the program?
Well, I think it starts with our visibility on campus, those guys actually knowing us before they get here. This year we had a middle school camp. Last year, obviously, with COVID, it was a little bit different, but we had a middle school camp, and we had great attendance at that. And that was an opportunity for those guys to see us, work with them and know what the feeling was going to be like when they were here. And I think plays a big role. I think we've made some headway with getting guys and keeping guys involved. We were
definitely
lucky this year. We had, 4 or 5 kids that haven't played in a couple years but wanted to come back out and be a part of it. So, we're getting guys back in, and we're going to always, work really hard to keep guys in the program. And so, we know it starts with the middle school level, and we know it starts with them having a relationship with us.
Well, and that's where that depth will come from when you get those numbers in.
Sure.
When you start having to split off your sub-varsity teams into multiple sub-varsity teams, I think that's a goal. At least
Absolutely.
I would think so.
Yeah, we've been lucky to have 2 freshman teams and maintain 2 freshman teams over the last couple of years, and that's really important. We're trying to build it to the 2 JV teams. We want to have 5 teams playing here at Leander, and so that's the goal.
It should be that level at a school like Leander.
Yep, definitely. So you a fan of Halloween?
I enjoy Halloween. Yeah,
you get dressed up. You
I like
go
candy.
You go all the way and get dressed up and on trick or treating and all that stuff with the family and decorate the house. Or what's your level from 1 to 10?
I enjoy it, but I bet it's a 3.
It's in my range.
I enjoy it more for what's happening tonight with all the members of the community out and having a good time and getting, especially after the last year, getting to see each other in a more social environment. So these are the things that are really fun. It's really cool. I keep listening to the music now that you pointed it out with the cheerleaders. It's fun to see them put on a production like that, and those are the things that we really enjoy.
Yeah, it's great seeing everyone kind of get back into this. Yeah, I'm a big fan of just watching the little kids that'll walk around the neighborhoods and see how they dress up and they're scared at the door, and you give them, they reach in and get a little piece of candy. And
Sure.
so that's the fun part. I mean, when you get a little bit older, maybe you'll have a party at somebody's house, or there may be some costume, but usually those that are way over the top,
Sure.
and those that just show up.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those that, sometimes I'll get dressed up if I have a good costume or something, but most of the time I like to watch the kids enjoy it.
That's it. Yeah, that's the best part.
Well, thanks for coming out tonight.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys for doing it here. It's
So
been
we
real
have,
cool.
I think, Coach Sondheim. I think you were going to have him come on over.
Coach Sonny.
Appreciate it. Good luck on Friday. Thanks.
See you, Coach. Welcome.
How you doing?
Doing
Thanks
all right.
for joining us.
You bet.
Coach.
How's it going?
Sorry we don't have the food and the fans here, but we got plenty of candy here after for you.
I
So
we already had enough.
yeah, we're just talking to Coach Price about Halloween. You a big Halloween fan?
Oh yeah, our house likes Halloween.
Okay, you dress up,
Yeah.
you do all that, or you do the decorating,
we do,
or
like trying to something to jump out and get the kids when they're coming up to, get the candy from the doorway or whatever.
Yeah.
We're usually either dressed up or hiding somewhere.
So you actually scare the children?
Oh yes,
isn't that the point?
100%. If I can get away with this one night out of the year, you can really get away with it.
No trouble.
Yeah, no, I don't get in any trouble.
Well, that's great. So tell us about yourself. Where you from? Your coaching history. How you got to Leander?
So I grew up in Montana, eastern Montana, Fairview, itty bitty little town. I actually out of town. I grew up on a farm. So and then we moved down to Texas in 2001, and first full-time teaching job in Rockdale.
Okay.
I was coaching there, and then went from Rockdale. I was there for 3 years. Went from Rockdale to Hillsboro, up there north of Waco. Was there for 4 years, and then went from Hillsboro to Lampasas, and was at Lampasas for a year. And then a guy who, before we left Rockdale, our defensive coordinator that year, Jim Ward, who used to coach here, when we left Rockdale to go to Hillsboro, he went from Rockdale to here, to Leander. And then he coached here for whatever that was, 5-6 years. And he retired, and he called me as he was about ready to put in for his retirement. He goes, hey, you want to come down to Leander? And I said, well, yeah, I'd be interested. And he goes, well, I'm retiring, so we're going to need a D-line coach. So he went and talked to Coach Gideon, and Coach Gideon called me like 5 minutes later and said, hey, you need to come down here and talk to me about coaching some D-line. I said, all right. So
nice.
Came down. That was 13 years ago.
That has been a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, you've been through a few head coaches here.
Few, yeah. So, Gideon hired me. I was with him for 2 years. He retired, and then our offense coordinator, Clint Harper, took over with him for 2 years, and he went back to Marshall. Yep. And then Lee Bridges came out. I coached with him for a year, and then I got out of football for a little while and was just kind of helping out wherever they need. Like they needed a track coach the next year, so I coached track for a year.
Right.
And I needed a golf coach. So I coached golf for a year or two. I did just kind of girls soccer 1 year.
You've got that versatility. You can coach golf and then tennis. And
well, the funny thing is working at like the smaller schools, like Rockdale and Hillsboro.
you have to coach all of those schools, right?
Like I had in Hillsboro, I was the head golf coach for boys and girls golf coach for 4 years.
So what's your handicap?
Not very good.
Not very good.
No, I'm not a good golfer.
Not even going to mention it.
No, I can drive a bus and get the kids to the course.
There you go.
No, that's great. Well, let's talk about the defensive line. How do you prepare them each week? I don't want to get into specific schemes, obviously, but go through your week on how you prepare them for the game.
So I have the DNs and the stack linebackers that are right behind them. So it's a little bit different, when Coach Price and I talked about, because we made a couple of changes with how we're going to do that exactly, and thought, well, it works because they work with each other on gap exchange, right? You think about, we're very kind of gap sound. That's what we want to be, right? This guy's
They have to know what each other is doing.
Exactly. And so say, well, it makes sense to work those guys together. So I had to come up with a lot of drills that you can incorporate for linebackers and D-line at the same time.
Yeah, that's not easy.
I mean? No, and so we worked it out, and the kids responded to it well, and I think it's been good. I think we've had a little success with it. So, but yeah, so for me, preparing for it is a lot of the same. I would say a lot of the same things all the time, but real base drills that we do, right? Where I'm real big on doing the fundamentals right. Okay, and sometimes you got to go the whole year doing the fundamentals before you get it right.
Right.
So and you don't ever want to stop doing that. So so we have, and then we can incorporate our little changes week to week within those drills and that with our scheme and all that. So yeah, it works out.
So
I think pretty good.
How do you like coaching your son? You're coaching his position too, not just a coach on the team, and he happens to be on the team. You happen to be coaching him day in, day out.
Luckily
You've
for
probably
him,
been doing it since he was like 5.
Yeah.
Though.
Luckily for him, I'm not. He's a nose guard, right? And I'm not actually coaching the nose guard.
Okay.
Coach Dave has the nose guards, and then I have the DNs.
That's good. That's probably a good split.
It probably is. I'm sure he's probably happy about that. No, but it's fun though. It's definitely fun. I was lucky enough last year, 2 years ago, of course, to come back and start working with Coach Price. And last year, I went with the freshman because Cade was a freshman then, and I got to coach his team. That was fun. Had success with those kids, Then now he's on that varsity group, so he was pretty excited about when he had a chance to move up and he became a starter and everything else.
So, are you a normal dad after the game? Do you talk to your kid about the game, good and bad, or do you let it sit for the next day or two? Or because you're a coach and a dad, so after the game,
and it's going to, as a coach, it's going to get talked about on film.
Right.
So do you talk on the way back, this or that, or you just let it sit?
So, usually we'll get home, and of course he'll always beat me home, right? Because we stay up and get everything done. And and we'll talk a little bit about it at night, but we won't go into a whole lot of detail with it. I've sat down and watched film with him just a little bit, just him and I, but it's not like a weekly thing where we're doing it all the time. I mean, like I said, I trust Coach Beef is handling a lot of that,
right.
and like I'll just talk to him about, hey, so how are you guys doing this, or how's this, or what do you think about this? Do you understand this? I'll double check those things with him, just because he's a 16-year-old kid,
right?
But now I try to draw a line of dad and coach, but that line gets real blurry a lot of times.
It's tough,
so
he's going to probably come to you with questions from time to time.
Of course,
So
he does.
You have to kind of balance whether or not that's something you should address or let Coach Beef address. So.
Yeah. Well, I usually just tell him, so how was this said in practice? This, and like if he didn't understand it or whatever, okay, here's what he meant.
Right.
Oh yeah, okay, and now I get it. No, but like when I wasn't coaching football at the high school there for a few years, that was about his time to be going through all the little leagues. So I was coaching all of that, and so he's been around, kind of getting coached tough for his whole time he's been playing football.
He's always been a pretty good sized kid.
He was 10 pounds when he was born, so he started out big.
He looks like a grown man until he takes his helmet off, and then you see that he's a young man.
Yeah, baby face.
So
he's a big old kid. And he's 6'2", 260.
Well, a lot of kids they kind of hit a growth spurt in high school. Some kids are like Caden. They're already big in middle school, and they just continue like kind of on a steady pace of growth. Some kids hit growth spurts. What can we expect from the kids coming up to play your positions from the JV team and maybe even that freshman team that might be able to skip JV and go right to varsity?
It's funny you ask because like here the last week or so, a couple of us coaches like me and Coach King and a couple of us have kind of just started drawing out, looking at, okay, what's next year, right? We start, listing some of them out. I got, a couple on the JV right now. I think they'll probably fill. So both my defensive ends are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's good.
Cedillo and Vasquez are both coming back. I expect them to, be pretty good next year. And we'll have two that are coming up off that JV that are sophomores now. They'll be juniors. That'll be good backups for them. Which is funny because, like, you look at Joe and Daniel, right now, you look at them, they're not the tallest guys.
No.
They
got motors, though.
They got motors, right? But they're about 5'8", 5'9", little stocky built kids, that get after it. And then the two that are coming, that'll most likely be their backups, but they're both about 6'2", thinner, longer, and they look almost identical when you look at them. And and then we got a few other ones coming too. But
they just need a couple years in that weight room, and they'll be all right.
That's going to be a big part of it. Yeah, they got to get stronger. Everybody does.
Yeah. I need to get stronger.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Me too. I need to get back in there as well.
For sure.
Well, tell us about the game coming up on Friday. What do you expect from their offensive line and quarterback and running backs? What do you see when you're looking at them? Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get into your scheme. So what do you see them attacking you? Defensive ends and linebackers.
Pretty big offensive line usually.
Their O-line it's not going to be the biggest one we've seen, but they're definitely pretty good size all the way across, right? You don't look at him and say, like, oh, okay, this is probably the one guy we can pick on because he's a little slower, he's a little smaller or whatever. You look at him and you're like, dang, they all pretty much look the same. They kind of move the same and everything else. But they're a good football team.
Yeah.
They've hit some rough games just like we have. I think we match up against them, I guess, evenly. Maybe is the best way to say it. They're going to get some plays on us. We ought to be able to make some on them as well. I think what we've schemed up is good. But they got not bad. He's not the best one we've seen, not the worst one we've seen, though, either. He can function back there. Got a running back who can move around a little bit. They got some receivers that can go and catch a ball. So, I mean, Hendrickson's always going to have some good athletes.
Yeah, it's tough to be the best quarterback in this district. I mean, there's 3 or 4 of them that are easily, look like potential college athletes, including the kid from Georgetown last week. So.
Yep. Yeah, that kid, man, he's
huge.
Yeah. Full-grown man, He was about 6'4" and 230 and playing quarterback. You're like, dang.
And pretty fast.
Yeah, you see him throwing, and then he'll take off up the middle. I'm like, well, he's got some motor. He can move too. Yeah,
moves a little faster than what you would think.
Yeah.
Deceptive.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Go grab some candy.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Coach. It's good to see you again.
Enough at
All
home.
right. Thanks. So let's, I guess,
Who's next?
the boys. Caden, come on up. Okay. Caden Wheatley, thanks for coming up.
Hello.
How are you? Good to meet
Good.
you.
How are you?
So, are you excited about the trunk or treat here?
Pull that microphone a little closer.
A little bit closer to your. There you go.
Yeah, of course we are.
Didn't have it last year, so what do you enjoy about this?
Kids' smiles, kids' costumes, see what they can do. What I mean?
Yeah, I enjoy the little ones that come up and just kind of wobble around and have their.
It really means something to them.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting candy. It's about dressing up as their favorite cartoon / superhero / whatever character.
Yep. So, have you been in the haunted hall yet?
Not this year. No.
Okay.
I have not.
Yeah, I mean, I may go through. I think last time they used to have it inside the high school.
Right.
But this is the first time I hear. Maybe it's kind of a COVID-related thing
Well,
as
it's a
well.
beautiful night
It is.
too. Why not?
So, let's talk about your season. Kind of started off rough.
Yeah.
The preseason, you got hurt. Well, I won't get into the specific injury, but you're able to get back out, and now, where are you at?
I honestly, I feel really good right now. I mean, I feel like I just picked up where I left off.
Good.
To be honest.
You're not tired out there at all? You were able to stay in condition?
I'm definitely a little more tired than I was, but I mean, I fight through it. I keep going.
Yeah, because I mean, it was good to see you out there and catching some passes, getting around, hitting the corner and turning the corner around some guys, and it was good seeing you out there again.
Turning kicks.
What did it feel like? I mean, to finally. I mean, did you think your season was over?
I did. At first, I did, and then I got told that I could have a chance, and then it feels really good to be back on the field.
What kind of, without getting into specifics, what kind of were you going through therapy or just time or a little bit of both?
Just time. It just had to heal on its own.
Yeah.
Just had to keep it still.
You get no hyperbaric chamber.
Were you able to ride a bike, or you just
Nope.
nothing? You just had to sit and wait.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's great seeing you out there. And so, 2 more games in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about those. We got Hendrickson coming up, and then we got your last game. What are you thinking?
It sucks for sure that I only got 2 games left, and I feel like I just started. This was the beginning.
That's
of my
rough,
season.
especially as a senior.
Yeah.
In high school, in college, you get hurt and they give you another year. You go through an application process. You can't do that in high school.
Nope, it's over. I mean,
Has it really hit you yet? Have you been thinking about it?
Yeah, like watching them play in the stands or on the field, it was like I hated it. It sucked.
But you play other sports.
Yeah, I have baseball coming up.
There you go. So you have something to look forward to.
Yeah, we're hoping for a good season there too.
Yeah.
For sure.
But, I mean, you got 2 more games. Are you looking at playing football or baseball at the next level?
I'm just going to see what happens, see if they come, they come. If not, then I'm just going to have to find something new. Find something I'm good at.
What do you want to do post-athletics?
So I love animal life, and I may try to do something in that, category.
Okay, great. Like veterinarian, or you want to work with some types of animals or studying?
Non-profit group.
Aquariums.
Really?
I love the aquatic animals.
But what do you like about it?
It's so pretty to look at. Like really cool fish tanks and like Hawaii when you see all the like tropical. I love that.
Do you fish?
Yes, I do. When I have the patience.
Right.
If I'm not catching anything with the first 20 minutes, I'm done.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Sometimes you got to stick it out a little while before they'll
So do you watch any of those TV shows about the cool like aquariums and tanks and all that stuff?
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube videos like that.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, that's something different. We haven't heard that before, but I think that's awesome. You have any of your own?
No, I don't. I don't have time to take care of animals right now.
Do you prefer saltwater or freshwater?
Freshwater.
Do you do? Okay, great.
Well, so saltwater fish are cooler, but freshwater if I'm like trying to.
Well, it's more accessible where you live.
Easier. You don't have to mess with all the other stuff in the tank and the salt. Yeah, it's a little bit easier. I mean, a lot of people have their little guppies or something, and they last 6 months or a year. You get the fish at the fair, or you may get a tank or something. But I mean, that's really neat. I mean, something different. We hear the normal. I'd like to do this or that, but I think that's great. So, what are you planning on doing over break? Anything fun? No. Just getting ready for baseball.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we go right into the period, so we'll probably have some sort of thing going on at the field.
Yeah, so you'll be ending here in a couple weeks and may get a little cool. Beginning of baseball season's freezing.
It sucks.
It's cold. I mean, we talk about it. That's the worst thing to sit. I don't know why. You could be at a football stadium at 0 degrees and you're okay in the stands. But when you're watching baseball,
there's a lot of energy going on.
And it's 40 degrees, it feels like it's negative 30 for some reason.
Yeah, I honestly just hate the cold at all times. It sucks. I hate cold.
So you like living in Texas then, especially this part?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely stay here if I can.
Yeah,
sure.
Well, that's great. So, are you looking at any specific colleges?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Just letting time do its thing.
Well, good. Well, that's great. Well, glad you're back out on the field. It's great seeing you out there. It looks like you haven't missed a step. Getting out there.
I mean, I couldn't tell, but I felt for you. I was like, I know he's tired because he's out there running, and you it's a little different. The tired that you get when you play offensive or defensive line is a different tired than somebody that's running, routes constantly and then having to sprint back to the huddle because you got 25 seconds between plays before you got to snap the next one. So it gets rough.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot worse last game too because I played a lot more. Because like Cedar Park, it was my first game, so we didn't.
Right, they eased you in a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Well, great. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you're back out on the field.
We'll see you after
we'll see you Friday and then, early in the spring. All right, Lucas, come on up. Lucas Flores is joining us. Thanks for stepping in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we started off with
machine.
Yep, we've started off with Halloween. You a big fan or not a big fan?
Yeah, I mean, I love Halloween, just like all the different stuff that goes on, the costumes and stuff like that.
Do you still trick or treat?
Not anymore. I mean, I quit like 2 years ago. So.
Did you carry a pillowcase? Because I had a few of those teenagers pillowcases.
I was Spider-Man like every Halloween. Like that was me.
Is that your go-to costume?
Yeah, that was my go-to guy, Spider-Man.
Was it the full thing with the?
Nah, the full thing.
Really? That way nobody could tell you. All right, anyway.
No, that's great. So what do you got planned for this Halloween?
This Halloween, I think I'm gonna just hang out with friends, hang out with family, all that stuff. Do like.
It's a Sunday, so there'll be plenty of football to watch.
Yeah, I might go outside, scare some kids, have fun with it. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. So let's talk about, and we talked about Caden. He went through an injury, and you kind of went through an injury as well.
Yeah.
Don't want to get into the specifics, but you've kind of bounced back from that. Any residuals, or is everything good to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's been no issues at all. So I mean, especially being my last year, when I feel pain, I'm just like, nah, I'm not stopping.
Right.
Just it's last year, just go all out. So.
No, that's great. So talk about Hendrickson.
Hendrickson, it's a real winnable game for us. I mean, we have these next 2 games, we have nothing to lose. So I mean, let's just go out there, play hard, have fun. It's our last time we're going to be together playing. So I mean, let's go out, have fun, and win 2 more games. So.
Yeah, so how's the season gone? I mean, I know we started out, now we have 2 more games left. You don't have any more home games.
Yeah.
Everything's on the road.
I mean, it all just flew by so fast.
It does.
I thought the first game I was like, man, here we go, and now it's week 8.
You look up and it's almost over.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So I mean, it's all fun. So I mean, that's all I try to do, just have fun with it. So.
Yep. And then you got baseball coming up soon as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yep, and we're talking about, cold and getting ready and all that kind of stuff. So are you looking at wanting to play at the next level, either of those sports?
Yeah, baseball is a possibility. Like, I'll always be on the lookout for a college offer for baseball, but football, I just plan to, this is my last year right here, try to go the baseball route instead.
Well, there are certain schools, especially if you go to a lower division school, where you can participate in both sports.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't turn that down, to be honest. So I mean, that sounds like great.
And there's a lot of them in this area.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So talk about the receivers you've seen this year.
Oh, the receivers I've seen this year are, they're pretty good. Given like Weiss and stuff like that, like they had great receivers.
They had a good offense all the way around.
Yeah, they did. Pflugerville had a really good receiver.
That kid was tall.
Yeah, I mean, nobody in this district has bad receivers. So I mean,
and we've seen that game in, game out, especially like Weiss. And some other teams, they're throwing 30 yards down the field routinely.
Yeah.
It's not a 5-yard out or a 10-yard out. I mean, they're going deep, and you've got to be on your jets, and you've got to be going with them.
Yeah, especially in like 5A, 6A, like everyone's athletic. So I mean, run with them.
Yep.
Bump them up, do what you can.
You like tackling better, or you like covering better?
I love tackling way more. Way more tackling.
It's hard to keep up with some of those guys, even if you're fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's just covering.
Because you're reacting to what they know they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. You have to have quick reaction time and makeup speed.
Yeah. So. Being a corner or being a DB, like it's got to be one of the hardest positions to play. So I mean.
Oh, it definitely is, because you've got to have quickness. You've got to be able to read the quarterback, read the receiver. You've got to get off a block if you need to. Yeah. You've got to make a tackle, and you're on an island half the time. I mean, it's you're exposed.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah, you make the play, or they blame you for the play, even though it may not be your fault. But I mean, you're out there in the middle. You're not in the line, and they may break through, or linebacker, but you're out there covering one of the best athletes on the field.
Yeah, it's defense is definitely the tougher side of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it, like, there's so many aspects that go into it, and it's just like, defense is definitely, like, the harder one.
And you've got to have the mindset of, okay, maybe they got 10 yards on me, but I'm getting you next play.
Yeah.
Or you make a play and you look great, then the next time they're burning you, and you're like, oh, man. So, I mean, every play you just got to erase what happened the play before.
Yeah, our coaches always say that, like, have a short memory. Because being a DB, especially, you get a good 2 tackles, you make good 2 plays, then you get toasted.
Well, and even the people that aren't big into football, not huge fans, don't really understand it. They're here watching the game. Maybe they have a kid in the band, and they see something. They don't notice the 2 or 3 big plays that you made prior to that one pass that gets completed down the field, and they're like, who's that guy?
Yeah, who's that kid? I know. It's just like people don't really like get it. Like, like you make 2 great plays, and then something bad can happen.
And you're just out on an island if you're on the corner, and even deep as a safety, sometimes if somebody gets behind you, that's like the last thing that you can let happen as a safety. But it does happen. It happens at every level, all the way to the NFL.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just like what Diggs with the Cowboys, you know, he was a winner on one play, then he was a GOAT on the next play. I mean, and they're talking about it on national TV back to back. Yeah, but so. Even at that, despite the covering, you've got to come up and you'll see those guys turning the corner of the running backs, and there's some big running backs, so you've got to shed the blocker and try and make that tackle.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I mean, not only is there big running backs, there's bigger blockers.
Yeah.
So you got to get off the bigger blockers to get to the big running back. It's always tough, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you're just physical and violent, like, you got to play hard, and if you just play hard, at the end of the day, you'll probably make the tackle. Yeah. So.
And especially they're coming full speed by the time they get to you.
Yeah, they're all running downhill. I mean, the last thing you got to do is just throw your body at them. Like, try to make a tackle, try to do something to get in their way.
Well, I know you get your name called a lot because you're in on a lot of tackles, so it's obvious that you do enjoy that aspect a little more.
I do enjoy that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate you coming out and talking.
Yes, sir.
Go enjoy some candy.
Yes, sir.
Go scare some kids.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
It's good to meet you.
All right, we'll see you Friday. Well, thanks for joining us tonight for the Coaches Show. We want to invite all of you to tune in on Friday. Leander is playing Hendrickson at the field. If you can't make it, tune in to the broadcast on SHN Sports. Want to thank our sponsors one more time. Couldn't do it without them. Platinum sponsors Thrive Realty at thriverealty.com. 512-379-7553. Modern Shade at modernshadeLLC.com. 512-385-4100. PK Custom Pools at pkcustompools.com. 512-791-5526. Quality Moving and Storage at austintxmovers.com. 512-300-9543. LOA Construction and Austin Roofing at loaconstruction.com. 512-817-2293. And our gold sponsors, funk.com at 737-808-3909. Well, Chuck,
Batman was just here.
yeah. So, we need to go check all this out. We need to go see some of these costumes. So, tune in on Friday. For Chuck Cracy, Mark Sickles, thanks for tuning into the broadcast. We'll catch you on Friday.